It's officially game week. I'm Niko Tamurian alongside Matt Hauswirth. And Matt, we've been waiting for this.
Yes,
Since you and I left Orlando in the Camping World Bowl, even in that celebration, everybody starts thinking, can they do it again? And they're certainly capable of that, but it all gets started in week one. And there's a lot of things to watch for in Syracuse and Liberty. We have obviously, as you're reading, our top 3 reasons, both sides. And I think this is a really intriguing matchup.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is I think a lot of people would call Liberty a mid-major opponent, but you start looking at the components and the personnel on this team, and they're not really as much of a mid-major as you think. The head coach, it starts with him, Hugh Freeze. You remember him from his days in the SEC. He pumped out a lot of NFL players at Ole Miss. So what he sees in Syracuse will not surprise him one bit. He's seen just as good of the caliber of players in the SEC that he'll see in Syracuse.
And that hits on a point. When I was talking with head coach Dino Babers last week, he said the first game is always the scariest. He used words like spooky. He used sleepless specifically because it's one of those things where, sure, on paper, Syracuse is more talented. Sure, they're favored by 17 points. But week one, you just don't know whether it's Liberty or, well, Clemson, they know. Whether it's Liberty or Alabama, you don't know what they're going to do. Yeah. And from that standpoint, I think it's really, again, it really can be scary because it's a new coach. It's the first time a Power 5 team's going to be at their stadium. First ever FBS ranked team at their stadium. This, in a lot of ways, is like the Super Bowl for Liberty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only other Power 5 team they're playing on their schedule is Rutgers. So this
doesn't count.
Yeah, that doesn't count, right? But yeah, I mean, they're at home, so you know they're going to be fired up. And Dino was saying in his press conference on Monday that, hey, listen, I mean, you go on the road, your first 2 games, you're trying to build momentum. That's tough, and if you can win those first 2 games before getting to Clemson, that's a big deal. So Syracuse has their work cut out for them to start the year.
I agree. They have to beat the unknowns. And again, there's the talent to do it. There's obviously the coaching to do that. It's just going to be a little tougher than I think people think. And maybe they do win going away. And if they do, it's because they overcome the unknowns. They take the air out of the building right away. They get that early turnover, that big play to really bring Liberty back to reality. Because if you let them hang around, that's when scary things can happen.
At their place. I believe a 17-point favorite,
17,
Syracuse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty hefty favorite in the eyes of the Vegas odds makers. So a lot of people think Syracuse is going to win this game handily. I think Liberty is going to give them their best shot, though.
Yeah, and we'll get to our final predictions in a minute. I think, yes, it will be tough. They have to make that early statement Syracuse does to take them out of it. And one way they do that, and one of your reasons, is the new man in charge at quarterback, Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, I think this is Tommy's time to shine. And we saw him at different spurts last year. That North Carolina game, none of us will soon forget the way he handled that offense, commanded the offense. We know he's got the arm talent. We know he's a leader. He's a talker. He's from New Jersey. We know that. But listen, he's a guy that's going to be relied upon to guide this team. One thing Dino said on Monday that kind of, took me by surprise a little bit is that, hey, Tommy's not out there by himself. There's a lot of guys on the offensive side of the football who have so much experience. Aaron Cerveas on the offensive line, Evan Adams on the offensive line. You got a guy like Mo Neal who's almost like a quarterback on the field. I know he plays running back, but he's been here for 4 years. He's entering his senior year. And also Chris Elmore. He's played 4 different positions on the offensive side of the ball. So there's a lot of guys around Tommy to make sure that he's successful.
Yeah, no question about that. He's a star. This is his team at quarterback the next 3 seasons, which is really exciting for Syracuse fans. But it is his first year starting. And inevitably, any quarterback, you saw it with Trevor Lawrence last year even. You saw it with Tua. There's always going to be some growing pains your first year starting. And overall, by and large, he will be successful. But I think one of the big things is when Tommy has those growing pains, whenever that may come, there's an awesome defense behind him with playmakers all over the field. And I think that could be the difference in what elevates Syracuse to be similar to what they were last year, top 25 the whole way, all that stuff.
That's right. It was one of your keys is the defense and making sure that the turnovers keep on coming. When you got a secondary like that, Andre Cisco, Trill Williams, there's a lot of good players in that secondary. I think the Syracuse defense could flourish against a team like Liberty at their place, kind of take the crowd out of it early.
That's just it. I mean, if the defensive line isn't getting that pressure, which is weird because they always will, the secondary is there to pick off the passes and everything like that, and the linebacker certainly will come along. All right, so it is Saturday, 6 o'clock, ESPN Plus. That is a subscription-based service, streaming, $5, $4.95 a month. I just did mine. Let's go with final scores here, man. I know that's always really tough to do, but how do you see this one shaking out Saturday?
I see 35-14 Syracuse winning this game. I think it's going to be a competitive game early. And especially when this is a Syracuse team that has to temper these expectations a little bit because a lot of people have this team possibly going to a New Year's Six bowl game. I mean, that's something that could happen this this year. And Dino was just kind of saying on Monday, pump the brakes a little bit. We still got a long way to go.
Sure.
Haven't even played the season yet, but I see Syracuse running away with this game in the second half, much like they did last year when they started the year on the road at Western Michigan.
Yeah, we're on the same mindset. I'm going to go with 41-17 just to get Andre Schmidt a couple of field goal kicks in there. So obviously we'll be doing this all season long, and don't forget our Orange Zone season premiere Thursday night, 7 o'clock on NBC3 with Matt and I, and of course our co-host Damian Rose. Until then, we'll see what happens Saturday.